Hello, everybody. This is Constance from Mysterious Galaxy. I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight to all the awesome readers. And also a big, big thank you to our amazing people we have here tonight. We have Tracy Wolff, and we are here for Crush, which is book 2. It is the sequel of Crave. And I just want to say big, big thank you to Tracy for joining us. I feel very honored. We got to celebrate book 1 and book 2 with you. So we're like, yeah,
I'm like so excited to be able to celebrate with you guys. Like you were I grew up in San Diego, so you're my hometown bookstore.
Yay! Oh, that makes me so happy.
That's right. It's in San Diego. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Mysterious Galaxy of San Diego, Sherry. So this is totally, this is my home bookstore, the one I used to dream about signing at.
Represent. Well, next time when the world is not as it is, we will get to see you in person.
That would be amazing. It's been a long time since I've been there.
We gotta get you out here then. And in conversation with Tracy is going to be Sherry, and she is going to be leading us through the conversation for the most part. So I will let her take it away. But before I head out on you guys, I have 2 important notes for you. It's the Vanna White section, as I like to call it. If you look down below, you will see a beautiful big green button that says buy book and personalized book plate. I know the last time we did book plates, the Postal Service slightly thwarted us on it, but we have got it figured out, and we've got book plates from the last event being mailed out to you guys, and these one will get to you too. So fear not.
I have them already downstairs, all ready to sign on my dining room table.
Woo! And then also, events are fun because you get to interact with the authors. So you'll see a button down there that says ask a question. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. It's what makes all of this so much fun. Sherry, I will let you take it away and have an amazing event, guys. I'll see you at the end of it.
Okay, thank you very much. See, Tracy, when I asked you whether I will be given moderating duties, you said no.
I thought we could just have a conversation. Let's just have a conversation.
I knew I should not have trusted you on this.
By the way, for everybody watching, Sherry and I have been super close friends for over a decade now. She is an amazing.
My God, has it been that long?
Oh yeah, it has. When I realized it too, I was like, oh my God, we've been for 10, 12 years, right?
Yeah. It's been a while. It's been a while. Yes, that's true.
It's been a while. And she is an incredible.
Although we have not been super close of late because of the pandemic.
Yes, I know, it's terrible. We text each other like, "Are you still alive? Is everything good there? Everybody's kids good?" And that's kind of how it goes. But Sherry is an amazing. She was a historical romance writer when I met her, and now she is a YA writer, fantasy and historical, and she has an incredible historical mystery series with a female Sherlock Holmes called Sherry.
The Lady Sherlock series.
The Lady Sherlock series.
And of course, everybody here knows Tracy as the author of Crave and Crush, but Tracy, when we used to introduce ourselves, Tracy used to say that she writes everything under the sun except
historicals. Pretty much. And Sherry writes historicals, so it all works out in the end.
Mostly. I occasionally write something contemporary, but yes, mostly. So how have you been? You look great.
Oh, thank you. I was telling you earlier, right? This is my home dye job because my mom has COPD. She lives with me. And so I'm really careful about going out too much and being exposed because I don't want to bring anything home. And so, when it was getting to be time to launch Crush, everybody in my family kind of was like, okay, look, Mom, you gotta do something with the hair. And I was like, all right, we're going to try and see what happens. So this is what turned out. So it's not terrible.
Yes, and you put on some proper clothes, whereas I was cooking and sat down in the clothes I was wearing.
Well, this is my launch week. I've been wearing proper clothes all week. I'm very excited to see my fans and talk to them and all of that good stuff. So anyway, thank you guys all for coming. I'm so excited by the turnout. It's so wonderful to see you. And please feel free to use the chat. I will even put on my trusty reading glasses and embarrass myself with them so that I can read all of the comments.
You look cute in them.
Oh, thank you. She's so sweet. Isn't she the sweetest lady? So occasionally. So I thought, because Sherry is pretty much the queen of world building and all of those cool things, I thought we could do a little bit, because we've been getting a lot of comments about the world building and Crush and all of that. So I thought that we could spend a little time maybe talking about that. Or
I want to ask you some questions.
Want to talk about,
I want to ask you some questions.
Oh, okay.
I want to ask you some questions. Like, yeah, I want to ask you, like, what made you choose Alaska? Did it just come to you straight away, or did you like audition locations?
Did I audition locations? Actually, yeah, I guess we kind of skipped over the whole, hi, for those of you who don't know me or my books, I'm Tracy Wolff, and I wrote the Crave Crush Vampire series, which is about a girl named Grace who, upon the very awful and untimely death of her parents, ends up in Alaska at a boarding school that her uncle runs and her cousin Macy lives at. She goes there expecting to find a normal boarding school, but she already thinks it's a little strange because it's not even on Google. But once she gets there, she realizes that something really strange is up. She does not immediately go to vampires and witches and werewolves, because, you know, who does? She at one point asked the hero in Crave if he was an alien, because like, I know something's not right here, but I don't know what it is. So why did I choose Alaska for it? I don't know if you know this, Sherry, but like Emily, my agent, and I, we always tend to go back and forth on like location ideas. She actually picked the place for my dragon series many, many moons ago. And so when we were coming up, we were just brainstorming back and forth. Like, we were thinking, she actually lives in Vermont. So we were thinking, well, wouldn't that be kind of cool? It's like nice and snowy. Like, I wanted somewhere really, you know, very off the beaten path. And then, I don't know, we were just, like I said, brainstorming, and like we hit on Alaska, and I actually know nothing about Alaska. I was supposed to go last spring, on a research trip before I wrote Crush, but as you all know, that kind of got canceled. So I am dying to get there because I've done so much research about it. But yeah, we kind of hit on it. And in the second, like, we came up with Alaska, I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. Give me an hour to research it. I did, and I just fell in love with it. The interesting thing that not a lot of people know is that I actually wanted to set it way, way up north of Alaska, right at the very top in what they call the northern Barrow, yeah, the northernmost part of the United States. And the problem, Barrow, well, my editor and I kind of like disagreed, because she thought it wasn't scary to set it out in the tundra, and I kind of think, like, I think it's worse to be able to see something coming at you and not be able to escape it. But then also Barrow has, and I'm going to massacre the name, so I'm not even going to try it, has changed to a name that's very back to its native name, which is awesome.
Right, which is also, I cannot remember.
Very unpronounceable for me, and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to offend anyone by trying to pronounce it. So there are a lot of factors that made us decide to move it somewhere else, and then I decided, well, why don't we just go to Denali? Because I saw, have you ever seen the documentary, The Art of Flight? It's the snowboarding documentary.
No, I haven't seen that, but I've seen like pictures of trains going around Denali. Is that, am I mistaken about that? Or?
Yeah, there are some trains there, because Denali is the highest peak in North America. So those people who are doing the 7 summits will come and try and climb Denali. But when I was writing my snowboarder new adult series, I did a ton of research on snowboarding, and I watched this one documentary called The Art of Flight, and it's about like really extreme snowboarding, and they took them down to like the Andes, they took them up to Denali, and they were talking about walking in whole, like, because they took helicopters up to areas that were far off the beaten, like, climbing path, and they were talking completely about the fact that they were walking in areas that no human being had ever touched. And I thought, that's where I want to put this, which is why they have to take a snowmobile to get there. Like, nobody has ever been in this area before, and so that's why I decided on where I said Catmere Academy. And as for why it's a giant castle, because I get that question a lot, why not? I mean, anybody who knows me.
Okay. I am going to tell this story. Hold on a second. Tom, can you turn off the stew? Like I said, I have something on the stove. And I first earlier I thought I'd just get up and turn it off myself, but since you're in the middle, let me not go. So I will tell you guys this story. In my neighborhood, which is a kind of like a old mainline Like 30 years ago, it would have been the exurbs. This was like far away from the center of town, but now it's kind of like a mainline suburb. And it's kind of place where you kind of see unexpected things. And one day, as I was driving along near my house, going downhill, I looked to the right, and I was like, somebody built a house like a castle here. Like, seriously, they put a lot of thought into it. I mean, the facade, the top of the facade is crenulated. And in front, there's a working drawbridge. And at the time I first encountered it, it was on sale. So if you go close to the house, you peek in the door, you actually see a suit of armor and something like a crown, like a throne, like right inside the door. And of course, it's got turrets. It's 2 stories. It's got round turrets. And the next time I saw Tracy, oh no, not the next time I saw Tracy, because it's not something you would just like casually bring up in conversation with your girlfriend when you're talking about other things. But Tracy mentioned that one time they almost thought of leaving Austin to move to Dallas, right? And then
I was going to buy a castle.
Exactly. And you mentioned that in Dallas, the house you saw that you really, really loved looked like castle and had a turret. And I was like, I remember banging the table and said, okay, now I know who actually built and lived in a house like this. It was for the Tracys of the world.
I've always wanted a tower. It's why Jackson has a tower, you guys. Honestly, I've always wanted a tower for my library / office. I just want to work in a tower. I don't think that's too much to ask. And yeah, somebody had asked me on one of the events I've done in the last week or so. They'd asked me what room I would spend all my time at, and if I was a cat mayor, where would I spend my time besides the library? Because, right, I love the library.
If you were what?
If we were a cat mayor, if we were a cat mayor academy, where would I spend all my time besides the library? I created a really cool library. And I said, I would totally spend it in Jackson's Tower. Like, Jackson's Tower is actually like my perfect room. I've totally created my room. And as for the rest of the decorations in the castle, my editor and friends joke that like I made the castle like a little bit like a bordello, and I'm like, well, if you know me, you know that's like pretty much perfect for me. So that's kind of where all of that came from. Oh no, Elizabeth, I'm sorry you haven't gotten your copy yet. And yes, definitely put your questions in the ask a question box, and we will get to them pretty soon. What other questions do you have, Sherry?
I want you to tell them. I want you to tell them about the writing process for this second book, because oh my God, we all died for you several times. You were dying so hard over there.
I was when I was writing this book, remember, like, Crave had done so well and you guys were so incredibly supportive and enthusiastic and wonderful that we decided we were going to move Crush up 6 months, but that meant that I really had to crash getting it written, and sometimes it takes a village. And so yeah, I was writing like 18 and 20 hours a day, because if you've seen Crush, you know that it is a significantly large book, and we actually cut over 100 pages out of it. Yeah, isn't it pretty? It's so pretty. I love it.
It's so pretty.
But we cut over 100
but it's
pages
a gigantic book.
Yes, it is a gigantic book. It was almost 850 pages at one point, and we cut a significant amount out of it, which yes means there are deleted scenes around that might show up at some point other places. But yeah, it was traumatic. And my agent would call me or text me every morning at like 5 o'clock. She's like, I'm up, I'm ready to go. You just write, I'll be your cheerleader. And then Sherry would chime in around 8 o'clock. Hey, how's it going over there? Are you doing all right?
Oh my God, I totally forgot about it. I used to check in on you. I used to check in on you. Yes.
Fighting adage, and you've got this, and don't die. And
yes, don't die.
And my family was amazing. Often. They brought me breakfast in bed like every morning, and took really good care of me. And yeah, and I just wrote and wrote. I would like wake up at 5 and write, and then I would usually break to make dinner and spend dinner with my family. And then I would write and write and write until I couldn't think anymore. And then I would sleep at like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I would wake up at 5 and write again. And that was my life for close to 6 weeks, I think, with this book. And
I mean, Tracy
yeah,
Tracy has always been able to go for like a semi-extended period of time on like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. So it's like, it's not good, but for her, it's actually not as extraordinary as it may be for somebody who's more used to a full night's sleep. But still,
it was pretty awful.
I was so worried. I was so worried about you because I was afraid that, you know, toward the end or after the end, you were going to come down with something. But this was actually like an unexpected silver lining of the pandemic, right?
Yes.
You always used to get really sick if you had
That's
to like
true.
work your butt off for a book. But then this time, because nobody in your house was going anywhere, there were no germs coming in.
No germs coming in, and I actually didn't get sick at the end of this book.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, you were like, you slept for a few days and you were fine. So now
Yes.
now I know. So now I actually know that your health is not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, she's always
Like,
convinced I'm like one step away from dying.
Yeah. I mean, because seriously, there were times when you seemed like it.
There were times, yes. Not gonna lie. But no sickness at all. Just kind of like crashed and slept for like the first day I couldn't even sleep, and then I crashed and slept for like 2.5 days, and then I was like, okay, all is good with the world again. And
that's awesome. That's a great way to recover. But still, I am, you know, don't kill yourself this time. That's all I'm saying. The book is doing fine. Hard. The book is doing fine. I'm sure your readers would rather you live
to finish the series.
Yes, then finishing the series 2 weeks earlier or something like that. So just don't kill yourself. Oh, don't you think we should get to the questions sooner? We were going to talk about half an hour, but you have so many questions.
There are a lot of questions. Let's check out some of them and see if we can get some of those
check out some
and
of
then
them.
we'll see where we're at.
Okay. Why don't you pick which question you want to answer first? I'll read it.
Okay. Well, why don't we just go from the top?
Okay, the first one is spoilers. Oh, okay. First two are all spoiler. Will there be smut in the next book? I love that.
I
would like to know the definition, this person's definition of smut. Yes.
Will there be smut in the next book? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some smut in the next book. I am in the early stages still of writing it, but yes, there will be some smut in the next book. Yes.
Oh, hold on
Somebody's going to get in again, so that's exciting.
Here's an interesting question. I thought the question asked, will there be 1 or 2 more books in the series? I thought you said it was going to be. Last time I asked you, it was still a trilogy, but now it looks like it's going to be a quartet.
It is going to be a quartet, and it's going to be a quartet because when we were planning the 3rd book, we were pretty sure that to get everything I needed to get into the book, to do the world building and to finish it off the way that I want to finish it off, it was going to be well over 1,000 pages. And and that's a problem because we actually had to send people out to Target to measure the shelves to make sure we could get 2 copies of Crush like on the shelves at Target. And barely is the answer at 704 pages. So yeah, we weren't going to go longer than that because we want to make sure we, have places to display it.
We always knew you wrote long, but I never knew you had become the, George R. Martin of
the YA crowd. Yeah, I mean, I will say there is a lot in this book. There's just, yeah, in the book, right, guys? Those of you who've read it, there's I create a game for the world. It's called Ludares, and that takes up and that kind of ties into the finale as well. And so that took some time to build, but then there's also it's a quest book, so they have to go to these magical places and do these things and get these objects, and because of that there was just there was just no way. I mean, we went in and we like cut, like I said, we cut 100 and some pages out of it. We cut so much trying to like streamline it, and there are whole different things that didn't even make it into the book, whole different scenes and groups of scenes that didn't make it into the book. So yeah, apparently there was apparently I have a lot to say about Katmere and my vampire world, Sherry, I guess. I don't know. There was definitely not
That's
not
good.
a
I think your fans will love it. I think your fans will just, I mean, look at the comments. They want more.
Yay! More books the merrier. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
And
definitely
let me do you want to talk a little bit? There was a question about the original coming up with the original idea for the series. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, or you want to talk about something else?
Oh, how I came up with the idea for the series? Sure. This was kind of an interesting thing because I love writing paranormal. I wrote paranormal for a lot of years. I wrote mermaids, I wrote dragons, I wrote witches, and then everything kind of shifted over to contemporary. And I never did write vampires when the last time the paranormal craze was around. Largely because it's very intimidating to me because there are so many brilliant vampire series out there that I was just always, I didn't want to do it unless I had an original idea, one that was that I thought could stand on its own, one that I thought, a world that I could create that would differentiate itself, I think, from the rest. So I kind of had a couple ideas kind of brewing in my head, but I hadn't done anything with them. And then my publisher, Entangled Teen, came to me and said, hey, we really want to work on bringing vampires back. What do you think about teaming up for that? And I was like, yeah, I actually have this idea. And I pitched them, this idea about a boarding school and Jackson and this world that they live in. And then we kind of like worked on blowing the world up a little bigger and fleshing out a whole mythology. Only a little bit of what you guys have seen, but a lot more of which is coming in Covet and Court, which are books 3 and 4, and you'll get to see a lot more of this world that these characters, these paranormal characters, inhabit, and the mythology that kind of created it. And so that's kind of how the series was born. It was an idea that had been knocking around in the back of my head, which Sherry knows about because she, her first book was an idea that had been knocking around in her head a long time, right?
Right, but so are the next 2 books also going to be only 6 months apart?
Yes, the next book comes out in March. March 2nd is the date. So we actually went a month earlier than when Crave was released. And then the next book comes out in September. So yeah, sometime next year. Yeah. So we got 2 more books.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
It's going to explode. It's going to explode. Have you started to write the next book yet? I think there was a question. You have. Okay,
I have started to write.
How is it coming?
How is it coming? Sherry asked these questions because she knows how I am at the beginning of a book. I will pussyfoot around with the first 3 to 4 or 5 chapters for a really long time. And then that's kind of where I like let it all sink in my head. And I just play with them and I fix them and I rewrite them. And then once like my head, I've kind of worked everything out, then I kind of sit down and I actually write. So I am solidly in the pussyfooting around category of the first 5 chapters at the moment. So I have played with them and messed with them and yeah. And I think I'm about ready to sit down and really not.
Okay, so you still have a bit of time.
Yes, I do have a little bit of time, so it hopefully won't be quite as hectic as last time.
There was some somebody says you're staying away from all the juicy questions. So I don't know if you want to pick a juicy question.
Okay, somebody asks, will we have more of Hudson's POV? That's I don't think it's a spoiler to say that you'll definitely see more of Hudson in book 3. I don't feel comfortable yet telling you whether or not whose POV is going to be at the end of the book, the 3 bonus chapters at the end of the book, but you will definitely see more of both Hudson and Jackson in Covet. Yeah. Does that count?
Okay.
Does that help?
So it says here,
I'm not
it
going
says
to.
here, well, a lot of those are like would a spoiler from book 1 still count as a spoiler?
Which one are you? If it's from book 1, I don't know.
What made you decide to turn Grace to a?
Oh, okay, yeah. I think at this point we can probably talk about that. Grace being a gargoyle, is that the question?
Right. I didn't want to say it in case, you know.
Yeah. I think I really spent a long time on that, actually. Trying to really decide. Like, I had an idea going in, and it wasn't what I ended up going with by the end of the book. And when I was going back and kind of reading it over as I was really debating, I realized I had layered in all of these things. And I was like, she really is. Like, I did it even, I think, subconsciously. Like, it was always an idea in my head that she would be a gargoyle. But it wasn't certain for me. And yet when I went back and started looking at it, I realized I'd layered in all of this. So, like, I think I knew all along that she had to be. And then especially knowing because I had the mythology pretty well planned out, and I knew what I wanted to do with it. And I don't know, there's not a lot of gargoyles, I think, out there. And
no, there really isn't.
And I really wanted to be able to play. I wanted a mythology I could play with a lot, and kind of lay down some rules of my own without, stepping on the toes, I think, of, greats and all of that. And I don't know. And I had so much fun with her in Crush being a gargoyle, like discovering her gargoyle powers. There's this whole moment where she's like terrified. She has horns and a tail, right? And I had like so much fun with that, because I totally imagine, like, a lot of people ask where Grace comes from, and she kind of came to me pretty like just talking in my head. And I realized after I'd written, after I'd written in Crave, I realized that Grace is, and I didn't say this to a lot of people for a very long time, because it's what if everybody hated her? But I realized she's probably, of all the characters I've ever written, the one that's most like me. And so I'm like, yeah, I'd totally be worried if I had a horn and tails. I'd be like, oh my God, like, what's going on up there? She wasn't near a mirror. And that somebody
horns
had
and tails and boobs.
Yes, horns and tails and boobs. And so somebody had asked, there was a question over there in the chat that I wanted to answer, and I can't remember what it is now. I'll see if I can remember it. I'm so glad you think Grace is a total badass. I love her a lot. I do. She is, she'll get the job done. She doesn't look that tough, but yeah, I think she is too.
I mean, Tracy is a total badass who will get shit down. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Even though she's also like a fluffy bunny.
I am a fluffy bunny. Yes. To be honest, she doesn't even need a man. You're right. She doesn't. She's got this.
Let me see. Let me see. Who's your dream cast for the Crave movie? You probably shouldn't be talking about that, because are they to the casting stage yet?
They are in. They're in a bunch of different stages right now. So, but we did have permission to run a Crave Dreamcast, which was incredibly cool. A Crave Dreamcast contest, and it was really fun to see who the fans picked. It was awesome, and one of my fans had mentioned Jordan Fisher for Flint, and I hadn't thought of him at all. But oh my God, as soon as one of my fans mentioned him, I was like, oh, because he's got like this grin and this like easy, like, it's just like perfect. I thought, oh yes, he'd be amazing. Yeah, I mean, this is all just like my picks. It has nothing to do with Universal, of course. But so the fans were really big on him, and then they named a bunch of different people for Jackson, but I have to tell you, one fan in particular named somebody that made me squeal with delight, and you will totally understand Sherry, when I tell you that one of the fans said, "Oh my gosh, they think Harry Styles would be a Jackson," and I was all, "Oh my God, no! I would like just there would be no other books because I would die." So there's that, and then as for
I know how
Grace,
much you love your Harry.
yes, I do love my Harry Styles. I do love my One Direction. Boy bands. And so when it comes to Grace, I think there's so many great choices that the fans came up with that I'm like, oh my gosh, they're all amazing. I love all of them. I think when I was writing her, I kind of had Joey King in mind. And then I just kind of, but like I said, the fans have come up with so many other actresses, and I love them all. So yeah, I'm good. The fans know really well. They have very definite ideas for their for Grace and Jackson, so that's kind of fun. I've really enjoyed that.
I mean, I think the thing is before a thing is cast, people have all different kinds of idea, right?
Yeah.
But then sometimes we get surprised in the casting, and people end up really loving whoever's cast. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody just said hero finds Tiffin has to be Hudson. He actually just won the casting contest that Entangled had held for Jackson, right? And somebody had mentioned the whole thing Wolfgang Novakratz for Jackson, and I always thought, oh my gosh, the second I saw him, I thought, oh, he would be a perfect Hudson. So yeah, you know, again, just like fun to think about, but yeah, totally.
All these Hollywood second generation.
Yeah,
or
right.
Second or third generation.
Third, right? Yeah.
But Harry, I still haven't moved on from Harry.
Yeah, no.
Although Harry doesn't look like a teenager anymore.
No, he doesn't. But yeah, good point. But still, Harry. There's a reason Harry Styles' music is in both Crave and Crush. My Harry.
Your Harry.
My Harry.
Our beautiful Harry.
That's right. Any other questions?
Let's see.
Oh, I like that one. About the, other perspectives.
A lot of them are spoiler questions.
Okay, here's a couple I like. How about, will anything that was cut from book 2 show up in book 3 or even book 4? There are a few scenes that were cut that I whined and whined about because I really wanted them. And I loved them a lot. And I've been able to work at least 2 of them into where I want them to go in Covet. So yes, they will show up there, and then the other ones will show up, I think, in deleted scenes, different places for you guys to see. Just little nuggets. And then somebody asked, I love that you have added chapters from other perspectives. Do I find it challenging to write from various perspectives? I actually love ensemble casts. I always have. It's one of my favorite things in the world to write. I actually give classes on it. And so for me, I love to write from other points of view. I love writing from like a single strong female protagonist point of view, but I love like the bonus chapters. I love being able to get inside the heads of Jackson or Hudson and kind of let you know what's going on in there, because there's so many scenes that I write them, like I'm totally imagining what they are thinking and what they want and why they're acting the way they're acting. I kind of love the chance to be able to show that to you, and then also to show you things that they're doing when Grace isn't around them. And yeah, Hudson's voice really came to me very quickly too. Like he was one that just kind of, he opened his mouth in the ice cave, right? And then he never shut up, which I think if you've read Crush is fairly obvious. That he never shut up in my own head the whole time. Let's get in Flint's head. Yeah, I have an idea about that, but it's not time to share that yet. So yeah, I'd like to get in Flint's head too. Yes. Is it easy to channel my inner vampire? Surprisingly, yes. I guess I'm a little more thingy than I thought. Are any of the characters based on?
Can people be mates with more than one person at a time?
Can people be mates with more than one person at a time? I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to tune into Covet and Court to find that question out, huh? The answer to that question.
I like that. I like that.
I'm gonna dodge and weave because my editor has sworn me not to reveal too much of Covet and Court. So I'm just gonna bob on that one. Anything else?
Will there be a spin-off series? Will there be a spin-off
Will there
series?
be a spin-off series? Yeah, that is definitely something we are talking about. I certainly have an idea for one that I am very excited about, and I guess we're just going to kind of have to see what happens. Again, I'm going to play that a little close to my chest, but I definitely have an idea for a series. Yeah, that might come after Crush and Crave, and I guess after Court is what I should.
The next question makes me laugh. I don't know if anyone should ask you that question, which is how long on average does it take to write and come with an idea for a book? You are going to get a skewed idea if you ask this woman, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's awesome because my
Tracy is one of the fastest writers we've ever known.
Yeah, my friends always laugh. I remember I was on a panel with Mary Mancusi, who also writes vampires once, and somebody had asked, and we were all talking about her process, and she's like, "Look, before this woman tells you her process, you have to understand that it is bad, it is wrong, and you shouldn't write like that." That's what she said about me. So for me, we decided we were gonna go ahead and write Crave in, I guess it would have been May 2019. And it takes months after the book is written to actually get it into production, which is why I had to crash so hard with Crush. And so I sat down and I wrote it in May and June, and then revised it. Had some thoughts that I wanted to change on it while I was sitting on my editor's desk waiting to be edited and all of that, and then revised it. So I did it pretty quickly, but again, the idea had kind of been stewing around in my brain. But I think on average, Sherry, right, from the time you conceive of a book and then sell it is usually several months, and then there's the actual writing of it, and then they like to have 6 months to a year from when you turn the book in to when it actually shows up, right? That's about right?
Right. I think Entangle is throwing out all these rules.
We have thrown out a few. Yes, we have thrown out a few with this one, but it's hard to say no when the fans are asking. They're so amazing and wonderful and supportive.
I mean, don't you love it when an idea's time comes, and the idea is yours?
Right. Yes, it is really exciting.
Because when you were mentioning writing an ensemble cast, I actually remember you coming up with that workshop and you telling us what all the different elements you need in an ensemble cast. I remember thinking that was some great analysis, and I think you put into practice several times, right? But this one just really hit it off.
And and it was always like a little it was never quite the right time. And then Crush, it's kind of all Crave. It's all come together. And I think that whole ensemble cast and
the right author, the right story, the right publisher, the right time, everything just came together.
The right fans. Yeah, it really came together.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. Can I answer the favorite one? Do your Harry Styles song? Can I answer that? Actually give a diagram on this. I say that and now I don't know because I'm totally frozen. I would say my favorite Harry Styles song at the moment is Falling. I love that song a lot off of Fine Line. Watermelon Sugar is adorable, but I'm a Falling girl. My favorite 1D song, oh my god. Temporary Fix. Where Do Broken Hearts Go?
I think for me, it would be Night Changes. It's always Night Changes.
Oh, Night Changes is a really, really good one too. Night Changes is a really good one. I think it just kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for. Like, I mean, and I will say any of the songs from Wendy that Harry Styles wrote always tend to be my favorite. But yeah, I actually really like the ones Niall Horan wrote too. So, I mean, really, there aren't a lot of Wendy songs I don't like, to be honest. So
they were good. They were good while they were together. Yeah,
they were. I think they're pretty good now that they're apart. So, but I miss them. What was the thought process behind the multiple colored strings? You know, that kind of came to me. And then it kind of became, and it's going to become more important, I think, for you as we get into court. But I was trying to think like how I could explain what I wanted, what Hudson could see, you know, and what was inside of her, and these things that were inside of her that she doesn't even know yet and doesn't even understand yet. And when you get into court, particularly, you're going to see a lot more of how those come into play. But I needed a visual, I think, representation of something that I think is pretty abstract, which is not the best answer in the world, except to tell you that honestly, a lot of it's going to come clearer in Covet, I think. You'll be happy if Grace just stays alone and rolls like the badass queen.
I like that comment.
I will remember
that comment.
I like that comment too.
or have Grace institute concubinage, you know.
Oh, there you go. She can just have her groups of concubines. Awesome. Yes, Tiffany, it's been giving me life too. Absolutely. Are there any other questions we have to answer? I know we're coming up at the end of the time, right? It's
not even moving for me. The questions, I can't even make the questions move.
If you want, can you guys hear me? If you want, I can read a couple of the questions.
Oh, okay, awesome.
I can't see the questions. It's not moving for me. The little question screen. I don't know whether Tracy's and she can see them.
I can. I see one that says, is Court going to have some sort of epilogue scene, like what Jackson Grace's future life would be like after the events of all 4 books? I guess we're going to have to wait and see on that one. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the bonus chapters in Court. But I think you're going to be happy with where Grace ends up. I really do.
I really love this comment. I really love this comment that says, "I'm just waiting for some Flint Jackson action."
Well, I guess we're just going to have to see what happens. Yes, look at you, Brittany. No, you were suggesting polyamory.
That's how rumors get started. Yes.
Right, that is how rumors get started. Absolutely. Does the next book tell us what happened during those 3 months? Something's going to tell you what happens during those 3 months. I can't tell you what it is yet. But yes, you will find out what happened during those 3 months, I promise. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you won't know until you read Crush. And I don't want to say more than that for those who haven't read it yet. Anything else? Anybody else have any questions that I can answer that I didn't? I am staying a little bit away from the spoilers because I know there's some people here who haven't read the book yet. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Would Crave ever become physical? Oh my God. And will I add the deleted scenes bonus chapters to the Kindle ebook, or will it only be for hardcover? No, the deleted scenes will show up. I have a readers group called the Wolf Pack on Facebook. They'll show up there, and they may show up like in my newsletter, or I may just kind of post some stuff online at different times. They're not going to show up in a book. Anybody will be able to find them. I promise. 3 months in quarantine, Annabella. Nice, right? Absolutely. I love musicals too.
And see, this is constant. I don't know if you would like to or not, but if you want, we can do like a mark and be like, we could do a 5-minute where we answer spoiler questions, and if people don't want spoilers, they can log off for that bit, or no spoilers at all, whichever you prefer.
I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with you. You want to ask some spoiler questions, and anybody who hasn't read the book yet and doesn't want to hear them, it was great to see you. We can do that, and then you don't have to worry about hearing anything that you don't want to hear yet. So sure, we can totally do that. Give everybody a chance to say goodbye. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming, and it's wonderful to see you. And thank you so much for all the love for Crave and Crush. It means the world to me. And for the Wolfpack, thank you to all my proud Wolfpack members. This is awesome. It's so good to see you guys. Bye, Tiffany.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is the official warning. We are now going into the danger spoiler zone.
We are going into the spoiler zone. Awesome. Okay, let's go up to the spoiler question. What's going on with Clinton Jackson now? Yeah, come on, guys. I can't answer that. You're going to have to wait and see what's going on. Did you always plan for H&G to be mates? I've had the whole book, all 4 books kind of planned out, like the general arcs of all the characters in them. So yes, I know how it's going to end, and I have a plan to get us to court. So there's that. Does this also mean that Jay isn't a love interest anymore? I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I guess, yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. We're just gonna have to wait. Does the next book tell us what happened during those 3 months? No, I think I answered that. The next book doesn't, but there will be something coming that will tell you what happened in those 3 months. And the cliffhanger at the end of Crush was painful. I'm sorry. That is actually how I started the book. Like, I knew that was how I wanted to end it, and everything was writing to get to that one sentence. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person. We'll come and start right with Crush left off. Yeah, I'm not jumping 4 months again. It's going to start like right in the next couple days. When did I know Flynn was gay? From the very beginning. I know I didn't say that when we were talking about Crave, but I've always known. And are we done with LGBTQ reveals in the series, or are there more? Oh, I think there'll probably be a couple more. I don't know that they're huge reveals, just characters that have always been there that you might not know that about yet. So there's that. Do I consider this series YA or new adult? I consider it really upper YA. It's an older YA series. And do you really find a separation? Are any of the characters based on real life people? Well, I said Grace is a lot like me, but no, they're just my imaginary friends playing in my head. You don't have to share, but do you already know who she is going to end up with? Oh yeah, no, I know exactly. I know. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. What's some advice for coming up with? Oh, you know what? This is one Sherry can answer. She comes up with the most original ideas. What's some advice for coming up with original ideas for books you like to write? What do you think, Sherry?
I don't know. Ideas just come, right? Do you ever go around digging for ideas?
Well, not since the very beginning. At the very beginning, I was always like, well, what do I want to write next? And now, yeah, they kind of come to me. Or like, I actually have a treasure trove of ideas. Like, I tend to come up with more ideas than I can write. Do you have that same problem, Sherry?
No, I never have that problem because I have very few ideas.
I have, but the ones you have are brilliant, so it all works out. I have 2 notebooks.
Well, you have brilliant ideas too. Look at this one. Yes.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. And I saw somebody say Jaxie Waxy. Yeah, that was great fun for me. I enjoyed Jaxie Waxy a lot. So anyway, and I think if we're going to talk about advice for coming up with ideas, I guess the best advice I have is just to be open. I know so many of my friends have come up with ideas just like in random times, like walking down the street or like through the mall or in the grocery store or in the shower. Like, so they often start with questions. What would happen if this? Oh, what would happen if that happened? Huh, wouldn't that be interesting? What would that look like? And then you kind of spiral down that way. Is that how you do it, Sherry?
Rather, yes, yes. Sometimes I actually start writing without a fixed idea because I'm writing a series. So sometimes I just, take what's happening in the previous book and start writing, and then hopefully by the time about 10% in, I will know what's going to happen at the end of the book.
Right? One of my favorite stories is when you were walking into Costco and that line came to you, just like
That's
out
right,
of the blue.
That's right. Yes.
That's like my
Costco
favorite
parking lot.
story. Right? So you never know where it's going to come to you. One of my good friends, it came to her on an airplane, getting off an airplane in Chicago. So you never know where that idea is going to come. So I think just be open. I love Hudson, but I'm forever loyal to Jackie Wacky. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you guys like them so much, and I'm so glad you like the books as much. Thank you so much for all your enthusiasm for my characters and these books. It means the world to me. Hi, Constance. How are you?
I'm popping.
Hi, Constance.
I have the villainous role as when we start to get close to the end of the event. I have to come on. But I was about to say, I know you got to touch on this a little bit, both of what you're working on next, but I feel like another good question too that everyone always likes to hear is, what are you working on next? If there's any other projects you can tell us about. And then I know, Tracy, that you said the release date for the next 2 books coming out, but I just want to give a reminder. And I did post a link for where you can pre-order it too.
Awesome. I'm working on the next 2 books. That's what I'm working on. And they come out in March 2021 and September 2021. How about you, Sherry? What are you working on?
I'm working on. I write a gender bending Sherlock Holmes series with a woman as the Sherlock Holmes character. Her name is Charlotte Holmes. So it's a Lady Sherlock historical mystery series. And I'm working on book 6, and book 5 is actually coming out in 5 days. Yeah, so it's coming out October 6th, so next Tuesday.
And they are so good. I love them so much, and I love Lady Sherlock.
So that's us. We're just like sitting home and working.
That's pretty much all we've done through the pandemic is sit at home and work, and yeah, that's it. Sherry's kids have flown the coop, but mine are still here, so I'm taking care of them too. But that and writing, that's pretty much been my pandemic.
Well, and
I feel fortunate we can do that in the pandemic. Yes.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing for them to be doing.
Yes, I feel very fortunate.
Well, awesome. I want to say thank you so much to Tracy for celebrating this series with us. I hope we get to celebrate the 3rd and 4th one with you because it's just always such a pleasure to get to have you. And thank you so much, Sherry, for joining us for this event and for sharing your
it's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Tracy.
Thank you for coming, Sherry. I really appreciate it.
I had an awesome time.
I did too.
It's lovely. It's lovely to see you, and it's lovely to see you so radiant and happy. So,
thank you. It's lovely to see you, and it's lovely to see Constance again, and it's lovely to see all the fans again. Thank you again to everybody who came out. I hope if you haven't, well, I think the people who haven't read Crush are gone already. So if you've already read Crush, thank you so much for your excitement, and join the Wolfpack so we can talk some more about it. I would love to hear your thoughts on all the different things going on. Okay, are we out?
We are out. We will see you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.